Do you struggle with what to charge for your coaching, healing, or other expert services? If so, you're not alone. I'm Pamela Bruner of Attract Clients Online, and today I want to share with you 5 pricing mistakes that could be actually hurting your brand. Now, usually we think of pricing mistakes as something that will, hurt your revenue or keep people from buying if you're pricing too high, or keep you broke if you're pricing too low or something like that. But the truth is that pricing mistakes not only do those things, they can also hurt you in the marketplace. They can literally hurt your brand. So I've got my notes here of 5 critical mistakes that you might be making with pricing. And if you can eliminate these, not only will you make more money, but I think also you will elevate yourself in as the go-to person for what you do. Okay, so first mistake is pricing by the session or the month. Now, why is this a problem? It's a problem for 2 reasons. One is that it's harder to sell, and the other is that you can actually be seen as too expensive, even if you are very reasonably priced. So let me explain both of those things. The first, this idea that it's harder to sell. I'm very fond of the quote, you can quote me on this: time is not a transformational unit. So if you're selling, hey, come take a session with me, then people are evaluating it based on what they think time is worth. Now, if they're an employee and they're making $30, $40, $50 an hour as an employee, they're a very good paid employee. That's 60 to 100K in salary. But if you're saying, a session is $100, you're not paid well as an entrepreneur, but they're seeing you as expensive. It's hard to sell because what's the value of a session? Well, the transformation that occurs within a session or a month or something like that can be incredibly valuable. But most people don't have the depth of experience in whatever your expertise is to know how valuable it can be. So they're just evaluating you based on an hour. So whether it is by the session or a month of coaching is such and such, unless you're speaking to somebody who understands the value of what you offer, and most don't, you're going to be seen as either mostly too expensive, because they're just going to say, an hour isn't worth that much, or a month isn't worth that much, or something like that. A second mistake, ready? Sharing your prices too soon. So a lot of this goes along with pricing by the session or pricing by the month, because people will say, well, how much does it cost to work with you? One of my favorite responses to that is, I have a couple of different ways to work with me. So let's sit down and talk about what you need. And then I can make the appropriate recommendation if that were a fit. And so do not share your prices in networking. Do not share your prices in marketing. Do not put them on your website, and do not price by the session or month, because then people are making an evaluation of whether they should work with you based on their perception of value and price, and not what they would be willing to pay for you, but what they think an hour is worth to them. I remember a time years ago when I was talking to a marketer and a copywriter, and we were talking about maybe him doing some work for my company. It's a long, long time ago. And he said, I sell a block of 10 sessions, and I think it was $120 an hour. And at the time, my thought was, oh my goodness, I don't think I can get $120 of value out of an hour. Like, I literally had that thought that was a scary amount. How could I make sure that I was actually getting $120 of value out of an hour? And now I suggest people charge $300, $500, $1,000 an hour in equivalent, although you don't actually price that way. So if your clients are thinking, or potential clients are thinking the same thing, like, ooh, I don't know if I can get $100 of value out of this, it's because they don't understand the transformational work you do. So you cannot sell to them. You can't price that way. All right. They have to understand the value of the program, the benefits they receive, the structure, how you would work with them. And that's just not going to happen if you are again, pricing by the session, pricing by the hour, or sharing your prices too soon. It's like, is a car worth $15,000? Well, is it a junk car, or is it a Lexus? That the price is not relevant, although people keep prices in their head. Third mistake is selling low ticket in person. Now, there's nothing wrong with occasionally selling low ticket. It's not the way I suggest people start. If you have a 47 or 97 or 297 offer, then yeah, sure, you can sell that online. And that's something that generally you do when your business is more advanced and you have a mailing list and all of that kind of stuff. But going to an event and selling low ticket in person, like, hi, shake my hand, so glad to meet you, I have this $97 thing. It's a waste of your time. It's a mistake if you're going to meet someone in person to do anything other than offer them a call to talk to you about high ticket. Okay, so if you're selling online to cold traffic, somebody who's never met you, people who've never heard of you, then sometimes it's good to have that low ticket offer in there. But if someone is reading your energy and they're in the room with you and they're meeting you in person, do not make it a low ticket offer. It's the wrong price point for for attracting them. A fourth mistake is pricing with the wrong ending. So what do I mean? People ask me all the time, well, should I price it at $200 or $197? Should I price it at $2,000 or $1,997? And the answer to that question is it all depends on your brand, because a round number tends to indicate a luxury brand. Now, there are other reasons to round number things, but Tiffany's doesn't price with $97 endings. If you buy a Rolex watch, it's not $9,997. It's just a $10,000 watch. And so it's kind of saying we don't mince words. This is a luxury price. Whereas $97 or $97 ending is often seen as a more precise price. Sometimes it's a little more for bargain conscious people, that kind of thing. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily cheap, but I will tell you that once you get above $29.97 or $3,000 for an offer, I tend to get rid of the 97s. Like, I don't go $49.97 or $99.97 or something like that for $5,000 and $10,000 offers. It's just it just gets too confusing. And definitely you do not want to price with mixed numbers like $24.97. That's a very confusing price. Just call it $2,500 or call it $29.97, because that's an easier price for people to get in their heads. Okay, so round numbers or 97, depends on your brand. Are you trying to set yourself up as a luxury brand? If so, use round numbers. And then the final mistake, not raising your prices because people won't pay it. If you raise your prices, nobody will pay it. I already have people right now who tell me I'm too expensive. Here's the thing. There are $20 bottles of wine and there are $200 bottles of wine. There are $20,000 cars and there are $200,000 cars. People will pay for the things that are within their money set point. Money set point is not always consistent across the board, meaning it doesn't just have to be a wealthy person to pay a high money set point for transformation. It has to be somebody who values transformation. So one of my favorite stories about this is overhearing two women at a coffee shop in Asheville. They're both waitresses. They were both very clear that they were waitresses. And one of them was telling the other how she was going to fly out to California. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, East Coast. She was going to fly out to California to get a new tattoo because that's where her tattoo artist was. So she was going to pay for a cross the country plane flight. She was going to pay for an expensive tattoo, even though she made her living waiting tables, because it was that important to her. So money set point is not consistent across the board. You're looking for someone who has a high money set point for the transformation you provide. People who don't make much money still pay $4 to Starbucks. So, and people who buy secondhand cars may pay thousands or tens of thousands of dollars for a transformational service. So think about that as you're thinking about what should I price. And if you're still not sure if you're priced right, if your brand's showing up the way that you want it to show up for the transformation you provide, then be sure to grab a session with one of my awesome coaches. The information is below. I cannot wait to help you price right so that you can make a bigger impact in the world.